Hey there, so welcome to my first episode of my Versus series. So originally I intended this to be a strictly Star Trek versus Star Wars, and then I was with the possibility for some Star Wars versus Star Wars and Star Trek versus Star Trek, but I've decided to make it more of a general versus. So those three I mentioned before, but also could be some Star Wars or Star Trek versus something else, such as the real world, another sci-fi universe, um, other things like that, other fictional worlds, things like that. So you can let me know your suggestions in the comments, and I will read them. And if I like them, or if you guys show me support and you guys like them and show that you like them, I will probably do them as well. But anyhow, so today's episode will begin with a match I've been wanting to do. I have a couple others I want to do too. I was surrounding Star Trek Deep Space Nine, but this is my first one, which I think is a pretty good one. This matchup is going to be the Federation's Deep Space Nine versus the Galactic Empire's Executor. It's Superclass Star Destroyer's Executor, as I should have said. Oh, Executor if you prefer, but I'm going to use the term Executor. Because how the story I'm putting in here, the Executor will make a better name and help engage the conflict a lot better. So a few ground rules. The crews, except for the characters that I'm throwing in, are going to be standard. Nothing special about them. They're going to be roughly equal in skill, but the traits, like Stormtroopers not being great shots unless they're an elite, is going to be zero. Star Trek red shirts, no, they're going to be the first ones to fall, but they're also the most numerous, so that's also good. But so there's kind of my ground rules, and also we're going to assume that certain technologies are about equal. Main thing, I'm assuming that deflector shield technology for both universes are equal and are equally protected against projectile weapons and energy weapons. So those are the same. Other than that, everything else is pretty much up for grabs. So now that I laid out the ground rules, let's begin the matchup. So we're going to begin going over the things that DS9's disposed of. The the space station itself, which hence referred to as DS9 instead of Deep Space Nine, will have a total of 87 phasers. Different silos and all that. I won't go too much into details, but on all sides, multiple directions, able to acquire a lot of targets. Additionally, Deep DS9 has 48 torpedo launchers with over 5,000 photon torpedoes, which in my opinion is about equal to the Star Wars proton torpedoes. Deep Space Nine also at its disposal will have anywhere between 3 and 6 runabouts. As I'm setting this at Deep Space Nine in Bajoran space during the Dominion War, I'm going to give it 6 runabouts. While we know at minimum DS9 has 3 runabouts, I'm assuming that during the Dominion War they added 3 more to give the station extra security against Dominion threat. And those runabouts themselves are pretty lightly armored. They're about equivalent to a very good Star Wars starfighter with 4 phasers and 1 torpedo launcher. So I would consider them better than any TIE fighter, except for maybe a TIE Advance or Defender will probably stand a good chance against it, but TIE interceptors, bombers, and and standard ties, no chance against them, though ties are more numerous. But in 1-1-1 fight, the Ronin battle will probably win every time, even against a tie defender or advanced. Unless it was piloted by Darth Vader. The DS9 also has at its disposal the USS Defiance, one of the Federation's few dedicated warships, with full phaser cans and full phasers. So, traditional Star Trek phasers. The phaser cans are more powerful in my opinion, they appear to be. Also with 6 torpedo launchers that can fire both photon and quantum torpedoes. And quantum torpedoes are better than photon torpedoes, by the way. Keep that in mind. It also has ablative armor which helps disperse energy across the hull, so when the shields get out it can stay in a firefight longer. And a cloaking device which can be used good for sneaking up on the enemy. Also, I'm giving DS9 the IKS Rotaran, which is a Klingon bird of prey, with its 2 photon torpedo launchers and 2 disruptor cans. So not as heavily armored as perhaps Defiant, but very durable and very maneuverable, and also equipped with the same type of shields and a cloaking ray, and manned by a Klingon crew. And Klingons are good fighters, and that might be all that helps DS9 win. Also, the characters that I'm allowing for this battle are Captain Sisko, Major Kira Nerys, and the Council as Redax. Not sure how much she can do, but can be good for advising, I guess. Also, so I think he is either Lieutenant Commander or Commander Wolf. I forget what his exact rank is, but he'll be in command of the Defiant. And also Julian Bashir, Dr. Bashir, of course. Odo will be there. Chief O'Brien will be there, along with Ensign Nog, and General Martog will be there. Also, the Klingon General, friend of Wolf, will be commanding the IKS Rotaran. And also Garrick will be somehow involved. Not too much, maybe he's part of a boarding party. But the Empire will have very heavily armored ship. Of course, over 5,000 turbolasers and ion cannons. So pretty well powered. And turbolasers are pretty powerful, and just to address this, Star Trek lasers, turbolasers are not the lasers in the Star Trek universe. They're more powerful, they're more in line with a plasma cannon, something along that line. So yeah, they're powerful, and I would consider them, though, to be a little weaker than phasers, but somewhat comparable. Because again, storytelling and plot stuff does kind of mess things up when you're looking objectively. Also, it's TIE Fighter complement. Now, again, we don't have official numbers, though. In Legends, there were 144 TIE series starfighters of all varieties, mainly standard TIEs, bombers, interceptors, defenders, and Darth Vader's TIE Advanced. Now, I think 144 is kind of low for the Executor. So I'm saying it has 144 not dedicated, but it's the standard TIE fighters, 144 of those, and a small complement of bombers and interceptors, let's say about a squadron's worth each, so 12 each. Then a small number of defenders. Let's say 2 defenders and Darth Vader's TIE Advance. The defenders are his wingmen, let's say that. Also, then you got all those support charters and support vehicles which won't come into the battle unless they decide to invade Beijing, which they will not do in this scenario. But if you want to see how that will happen, let me know in the comments. Also they have a lot more personnel. The largest crew complement for DS9 would be 2,000. As Executor has over 200,000. So that's a lot. 100 times more. They have a crew advantage along with dedicated ground troops, over 38,000. So any boarding actions will see the Empire win, but the Empire will be unable to beam onto DS9, but DS9 can beam on board the Executor, which could be beneficial. And also the characters involved with the Empire are Darth Vader and Admiral Piet. So let us begin. We begin by the Executor traveling through hyperspace after the Battle Hub, after the events in Cloud City. Not yet the Battle of Endor, but before that. But after the events of Empire Strikes Back. Going through hyperspace, then they detect some kind of anomaly, and it pulls them out, and they appear in front of DS9. Now, Captain Sisko, he sees them, and he immediately opens a hailing frequency as they're one of the first ships to get through the wormhole since he asked the prophets, the wormhole aliens, to close it off. So, he hails them. He introduces himself, the Federation, where they are. He asks who they are and do they know how they got to. And then Admiral Piet will respond that he is Admiral Piet of the Imperial Navy, commanding the Superstar Destroyer, the Executor. So he'll address that, and that's maybe all he'll say at best. Here Sisko, of course, as I said earlier, will again ask, "Do you know how you got here?" And Piet will begrudgingly say, "We were traveling through hyperspace, and all of a sudden we appeared here." Now, the hyperspace thing will intrigue Sisko, and he will question, "What's this hyperspace thing?" But Admiral Piet will ignore that question as, "Where are we?" demanding to know where he is and his ship. Darth Vader, though, during this time, he's meditating in his chamber, and he noticed something's different because he has a weaker connection to the Force wherever they are now. But so Admiral Piet slowly gets some information out of Sisko and vice versa. They continue this, and then Vader will eventually appear on the bridge and demand to know what's going on. And Admiral Piet will tell him what he knows. That they've reached this place called the Alpha Quadrant, apparently through this wormhole that might have interfered somehow with the hyperspace, some warping of the space-time continuum, some weird stuff kind of thing. And so that's going on. Now, over on DS9, of course, they have it as a yellow alert because, well, the name Executor, along with a sudden appearance of this massive ship that's bigger than Deep Space Nine itself, has him nervous, and rightfully so. They secretly transmit the message to the Rotaran and the Defiant, asking them to get back to the station ASAP for potential conflict, and they also prep the runabouts, not knowing what they'll face. They also send out they let the Bajoran Provisional Government know, or just the Bajoran Government of Council Ministers, also know what's going on, who ready their fleet in case, along with Starfleet too, who sees what ships they can spare, which will be none because they're in the middle of fighting the Dominion War. Though there is one or two other starships present in the area, but there's not too much. They're on patrol. The Defiant and the Return were the two closest. But let's begin with this. We got that. They let them know. Now, of course, the PS has ordered his crew to see if they can get contact back with the Empire as a whole, which they will be unable to do since they're now in another galaxy. So PS eventually, though, hears about the Dominion. So let's say Starfleet, Sisko gets emergency transmission that the Dominion has just captured some system. Doesn't really matter if it's Nerian Electric. The Dominion sounds like an empire, and then they talk about that, because the Sisko will know for sure now that they're not from the Gamma Quadrant, since they don't know about the Dominion. But Piet is thinking this Dominion could be a potential ally. I need to contact them somehow. What does he do? He decides the best way to do it is to take over the station, and because it might have a way of contacting the Dominion. So he orders his battery. He scrambles fighters and orders his gunners to open fire to take down the station's shields and prepare a boarding party. So the first shots are fired by the Empire. Now, of course, Sisko was somewhat ready for this because the surprise appearance in the ship's name does give him concern as to their purpose. So how will the battle go? Well, it's not going to look good for Deep Space Nine. The large number of turbolasers just pound away at DS9's shield. Now the runabouts do pretty good work on taking out the TIE fighters and the TIE interceptors and even the bombers that are also blasting around the shield. Not as the TIE fighters and defend and bombers are the easiest for the runabouts to take out. Now at this point, Darth Vader has yet to enter the fight, but eventually, pretty much all that would be left would be a few TIE bombers, let's say one TIE bomber, about let's say about 2 to 3 TIE interceptors and 16 TIE fighters. So not good, and with not too much damage on the Starfleet runabouts because they're shielded and pretty well armored and powerful weapons. So let's say one does have moderate damage and that. So Darth Vader gets his TIE and the defenders, and they wipe it out. They destroy that damaged runabout and begin attacking the others. Now, by this time though, the DS9 shields are about somewhere between 10 and 25%. Let's say about 17%. So it's not looking good. Then the Rotaran and the Defiant arrive and immediately begin attacking the Executor. The turbolasers have a hard time hitting them, and the limited point defense system does hit the Rotaran and the Defiant, but their better maneuverability makes them hard targets to actually hit. Eventually, the shields on DS9 get down to 5%, and all the stuff and all the runabouts are destroyed. Now, the Bajoran fleet which is mostly an impulse, very small, but has arrived, and orders the Executor to stand down, which Admiral Piet laughs at. So Sisko, wanting to spare the Bajorans, tells them to get back to Bajor and tell the Federation what has happened. Now, there's a few TIE fighters left on Darth Vader, and Admiral Piet instructs Vader and orders the TIE fighters stop those ships. So that happens. While the Executor holds off the Defiant and the Rotaran and finishes off the and blasts away the shields finally at DS9 itself. And now this battle though lasts 5-10 minutes probably during all these events. Does not look good for DS9. So Captain Sisko, wanting to protect the civilian population on the station, surrenders. He transmits a message to Worf and Martok to jump to light speed and get away from there, and also tell the Federation what has happened. Meanwhile, the Bajoran impulse fleet is not handling well against the TIE fighters and Darth Vader and those two defenders. The TIE fighters are eventually destroyed by the Bajoran fleet, but the last ship that went there was destroyed, except for one shuttle which was able to make it to DS9. One small shuttle escape craft made it back to Bajor to inform the provisional government. And Bajor reacts, ready to defend their sovereignty and freedom. And so it doesn't look good, does it? Sisko has surrendered to protect the station's civilian population, though because he expects the Executor just to blast them to bits, even though that is not Admiral Piet's intention, because he wants the station as a staging point and for its information. Now, of course, he has leftover from the program that he used when the Dominion took over the station is still in the computer system, ready to be activated. So what he does is, since there was no more runabout, there's some freighters left, he requests to Admiral Piet to allow all civilians to leave the station, which Admiral Piet denies as expected. Now, Worf and Martok actually, meanwhile, have decided to defy Cisco's orders. Marta being general can easily get away with that, and he orders Wolf to do so Wolf doesn't get in trouble. So they go back, they go back, they send a secret message to Cisco as they head back, telling him to get as many people onto what ships they have, and they'll beam as many people as they can, and then jump to hyperspace. Did I say hyperspace? I meant warp. So, but does it look good? No, it doesn't. Cisco stays. So Cisco and a few others help get people aboard. They're the last ones to leave, and so Cisco has Wolf and Martok beam everyone but himself up. Odo goes, Kira, all of them go. He gets them all until it's only him and Chief O'Brien and Garrick left. So, and then he orders them to go as Darth Vader and his defenders have returned, and the Executor is trying to destroy it. Tell them, distract the Executor, don't worry about us, we'll find a way. And they become the first prisoners of war in the Federation Klingon Imperial War, you could call it, I guess. So DS9 loses to the Executor. Just too many TIE fighters and too much firepower. DS9 probably could have taken down the Star Destroyer by itself, but there was no way, with the use of a Sith Lord at its disposal, with the Empire having a Sith Lord at its disposal in one of its best starships, there was no way DS9 could actually successfully defeat. So, the Imperial troops board the station. Of course, they have to do manual docking. They take Lambda-class shuttles, Sentinel-class landing craft, and other types, and they board the station. And they take Captain Cisco, and Garrick, and Chief O'Brien as prisoners of war, and lock them up on the Executor, after they were interrogated by Darth Vader. Actually, first by a few Imperials, then by Darth Vader when they resisted. And Darth Vader gets annoyed by Garrick and force chokes him, but stops just shy and threatens to do it again if he doesn't get the necessary information. And Garrick compliments him on a job well done. I wish that was something I could do, something like that, he would say. And just infuriating Vader, but though he holds himself back, realizing this man could be an ally if we could get him on our side. So he lets it go, believe it or not, but that's because he's for once thinking about the long run, thinking this man could be beneficial, along with RPS request that these people stay alive as they could be used in bargaining to get an alliance with the Dominion, which Darth Vader is somewhat supportive of. So that's where this scenario will end. Garrick, Cisco, and Chief O'Brien, POWs on the Executor, have been interrogated with the limited force powers of Darth Vader, though but he's still more powerful than he was when he was a Jedi in the dark side of the Force. He's still very powerful. Now the Empire, though, is severely depleted on its TIE fighter complement. Will they be able to defend themselves against a Federation Klingon counterattack? Will they be able to secure an alliance with Dominion? I would like to think probably so, but I don't know for sure. So before I let you go, I have a couple questions for you. One, what did you think of the scenario? Did you like the especially story-driven point of it? If so, let me know in the comments. Also, comment down below, who do you want to see win in the long run? So basically tell me Alpha Quadrant, Gamma Quadrant, or Empire, or Executor, more specifically. Tell me who you want to see in the win in the long run. Just so you know, there will be no Imperial reinforcements ever in this. The Executor, and so also let me know, do you want the Executor to eventually find a way back to its galaxy? Also let me know, do you think that the Executor and the Empire will be able to secure an alliance with the Dominion? Let me know in the comments down below. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this scenario, please leave a like and subscribe for future scenarios, including a part 2, which I will be doing at some point. And as always, have a good day, a good night, wherever you are. Live long and prosper, and may the force be with you always.